Hi there! I welcome you to iQuanta's channel dedicated to your success as a B-School aspirant. My name is Vikrant and I am your personal coach for all things related to English and communication skills and the mental aspects of the preparation. And we are meeting each other today so that we can go ahead and work a little more on the all-important area called RC. Now I'm calling it all-important because, I mean, come on, yeah, 1/4 of the paper, okay, almost 1/4 of the paper is nothing but reading comprehension. So if you are new to this channel, please make sure that you do subscribe to us because we keep bringing in tons and tons of content for you. And press the bell icon so that you never miss out on any new video that we upload, or even more importantly, the live sessions that we go on to conduct where you and I can actually stay connected. Right? So, before I start, do you have any question? Is there a concern that you want to go ahead and talk about? Is there anything that I can address and make things easy for you? Yash, Darshan, a very good evening. How are you guys doing? How's your preparation shaping up? Any development? Any challenges, even more importantly, because that is where you can actually make use of me. Okay, so whenever a question comes to your mind where you think I can pitch in with, please make sure that you do ask. And until then, let's go ahead and start with what we are going to cover today. So we are going to look at RC passages that are based on mythology, and hence all of these images that I just put you through taken from myths. So why mythology based RC passages? Well, when it comes to the CAT exam, we know that the examiner goes ahead and asks you passages from a wide range of areas, wide range of topics. Religion happens to be one such area, and that is the area that we plan to dive into today. So yeah, we have practiced a lot of psychology passages, philosophy passages, biology passages. This somehow is an area that remains underrepresented despite the fact that there are quite a few passages that come from it. They can they may not always be out and out mythology. They can be a segment picked up from anthropology, or they can explore it from a sociological perspective. But myths, particularly the symbolism that they have, is a very regular fixture in the CAD exams. And Tushar, our mythology passage is also common. Tushar, as I said, they can be anthropology and sociology. Both of them do deal with these areas, and those two areas do contribute a lot of passages, and therefore, yes, it makes sense for us to go ahead and practice a fair bit. So let's go ahead and start with a simple question. What is your answer to this? So what is mythology? Wanted to ask about the comprehension of the passage. Pranav, I think you did drop me a message on Facebook today, where you said that you've started getting the parajumbles right and comprehension is still a problem. But then you remember you attended my session on parajumbles. Now, how about attending sessions on reading comprehension and then following the strategy that is recommended there? Once you do that, you'd start performing well in RCs as well. So I won't be surprised. Okay, what else? Okay, so right now I am talking to you. When I do this weird angle basically is so that I could read your messages. Yes, Tushar, and religion is a part of anthropology, sociology, psychology, philosophy, a lot of different branches that do touch upon this. So what exactly is mythology? First up, I used to call it mythology for a long time. And then I learned that, the correct pronunciation is mythology. So I'm sharing that with you right here. Now, mythology basically is this. It's a collection of myths or stories about a specific person, culture, religion, or any group that happens to have some kind of shared belief. So most people do not consider mythology to be entirely true. We do realize that it is more or less a work of fiction. But that said, in the olden days, in the time that has gone by, we have all these fabulous, fabulous stories. They often feature supernatural characters and amazing weapons, and Greek mythology, Indian mythology, Christian mythology, biblical stories. All of them are full of some very engaging, captivating myths. Most of these myths can also be treated as an allegory, where they would usually have a kernel of morality or a moral truth hidden in them, and that can make it or that can turn that into a guiding principle for you when it comes to using them. With that said, why do you think myths originate? Or do you think that myths are important for a society? What's your take? Give me a quick yes or a no. Are myths important for a society to thrive? Good evening, Magomik. Okay, Pranav, then I probably I receive a lot of messages here, so I've probably conflated it with some other message. But I get the drift. We will, in our sessions, we definitely go ahead and work on these things together. So, a yes or a no, are myths important? Tell me. Okay, let me go ahead and talk about this fabulous little book by Yuval Noah Harari called Sapiens. Now, in that particular book, Yuval Noah Harari went on to ask a very important question. I've also opened this video on my phone so that I can now read your messages with relative ease. Okay. So the question that Yuval Noah Harari went on to ask was pretty straightforward. He said that why is it that human beings have been able to build large societies? Look at all of these other species. Even primates, which are genetically very close to us, even when you look at primates, you will not really see very large communities in them. You know, a group would typically consist of 20, 30, 150, at the max, around 300 odd members. Whereas the human beings, on the other hand, have been able to create groups that involve millions and millions of people. So if I talk about India, there is a group which has 1.3 billion people. So what is so special about humans that we are able to create these large societies, whereas the other animals are not? Now the answer that is provided in the book is very fascinating. The answer is human beings are able to create all these large societies because humans can believe, okay, it's not necessarily believe, but humans can believe in fiction. So go to a monkey who has 5 bananas and ask him that, okay, why don't you give one of these bananas to me, and then in the afterlife you'll get 20 bananas. In your next life you'll get 20 bananas. A monkey won't give it to you. A human, on the other hand, a human may, right? So in a way, these myths create that shared cultural experience that binds a large number of people together. So what if they are not true? It is myth that makes a religion possible. It's myths that at times make nations possible. And even those civilizations, those nations which are not very old, the way we know them today, or for example, the United States of America. You notice in India we have this rich history of myths through religion. Now, USA was almost entirely populated by migrants. So what did they do? They have started creating their own myths today, myths that even you and I watch. Come to think of it, what is this Marvel universe? What is this DC universe? All these superheroes doing supernatural things? You'd find such things in mythology. And because the USA does not have its own mythology, it is in a way creating it. Okay, so then let me just check some of these messages. Absolutely, yes, Divyansh, Mohammad Farhanuddin. Yup, myths are important. Pranav, myths work even today. As you'd probably see as we read some passages. Yash says myths should be ignored. Well, if they are detrimental to the society, yes. Otherwise, no. Then Pandey is, that's my next to read book. Oh, absolutely. Sapiens is one of those books that you should definitely read. It is one of those modern classics, if I may use that term. So Sapiens is excellent. The next book that he wrote, Homo Do, that's also very interesting. But the third book that he wrote, 21 Lessons for 21st Century, that's a little bit stretched. So that's the one that you can perhaps skip. So the name of the book, Danny, was Sapiens. And it is by Yuval Noah Harari. So are you ready for the passages now? So I want you to take a couple of deep breaths, get into that zone where you start reading RCs. So I will take you through a passage slide by slide, paragraph by paragraph. Once you have read that paragraph, let me know so that I can take you over to the next one. And once all of that has happened, we will move over to the questions. And for today, if there is a part of that passage that you could not understand, just stop me and ask. And I would love to help you with that. Now, normally we would call that cheating, right? Because that will make the questions easy. But I want to demonstrate that, hey, we can understand things, and in case you're struggling with some part, we can try and decipher what contributes to that challenge so that we can go ahead and fix that as well. So read it. In case there is a part or a segment that you could not understand, ask me. I'd help you with that as well. So, ready? Let's start. And there you go. So, Panya, myths can have a kernel of truth. Myths may be based on some real events as well, whereas fiction is out and out a creation of someone's mind. Myths can involve fiction, they usually do involve fiction, but then they may also contain some truth. And the other thing is, fiction can be contemporary. You can write a work of fiction today, but myths are normally handed down to us. They come to us from the past, as in fact the very first sentence of this passage tells you. Good evening, Ramu. Traveler, coder, critical reasoning. बिल्कुल critical reasoning भी करा देंगे दोस्त. Big deal. In fact, the marathon that I will be taking with you, I can include some critical reasoning questions in the marathon. Absolutely, that sounds like a good idea. Okay, so are we done with this passage? At least, are you done with this paragraph? Not the passage, but the paragraph. Any part that I can help you with? Oh, that's okay, Shambhavi. You can just jump right in. Read it fast, finish it. In case there is a part that you could not understand, do let me know. Here are some words. Unfathomably, something that cannot be measured. Okay. The Phaethon story. Phaethon, just to give you a quick recap, was the son of the sun. You know, a young boy who, according to Greek mythology, happened to be the son of the sun, Suraj. So he was a youthful son of Helios, the sun. He begged his father to let him drive the chariot of the sun. His father was obviously very reluctant, but finally he agreed and he said that, okay, why don't you go ahead and run the chariot. But then Phaethon was inexperienced and he could not control the chariot. He brought it too close to the earth. There were parts of the earth that got burned. In fact, Africa burned and there were deserts. The people also went on to become dark as the story goes. So remember this god called Zeus from the Marvel universe, some of the Thor movies. So Zeus, when he saw Phaethon do all this nonsense, he smote him with a thunderbolt and killed him. And then the chariot was brought back under control. So that's how it basically goes. So now the Phaethon story has long been read as a fable. A fable is a short story that usually involves animals and it contains a moral lesson, right? About youthful arrogance and folly. Folly is mistake. So anything else here that you want me to go ahead and talk about? Anything else? Caught up, desires, damage, comprehensible, trapped. Fair enough. So let's go ahead and dive into our next paragraph. Here it is. Okay. So I see quite a few words. Let me just go ahead and underline them. Maybe they can be explained. What else? Okay, and then somebody has also asked me about ecological lens. Ecological lens here is ecological perspective. Okay, where is this? Is this here on this slide somewhere? It's probably there on the previous one, right? So there was a point of time when the author read that story and looked at it as a son's desire to be with his father, and then when he revisited the story later, he could see the ecological perspective, okay, the sharing of the earth because of the mishandling of the chariot. That. Okay, so whenever something is contingent on or upon something, it means that it depends on that something. So here, when you say locating events in time in all their contingent specificity, then you're saying that you look at a particular event that happened at a particular point of time and you explore all the relationships that the thing had, you know, the context, things that it depended on. Then a canon, canon, canon is basically a rule or a law that comes from a religious book. So when you say canonic, there are no canonical versions. You're saying, you know, a book of religion is supposed to be a very serious text. You're not supposed to tinker with it. You're not supposed to change with it. So they're saying that, okay, these Greek myths, there is no canonical version. There is no version where people would say that, hey, stop touching it. Don't alter it. You are not allowed to do it. That's our holy book. No, nothing of that sort. Then Medea, that's another story. Medea was somebody who could see the future. And her story is all about her calculated desire to seek revenge against her unfaithful husband. And then I think Helen of Troy is something that quite a few of us would already know. You've probably read the story of a Trojan horse. Or maybe you watched this movie called Troy. It also had Brad Pitt in it. It was also dubbed in Hindi. In Hindi it was called Mohabbat Ki Jang. So maybe you've gone on to watch that. So, you know. So basically, history is always then, myth is now. So history does one thing, myths do other things, and myths keep on changing, people keep on coming up with different versions, different iterations, and here is the next paragraph for you. Oh, there was one more word there. I think I missed out on that in my rush. Rhapsode. Rhapsode is a singer, okay? In ancient Greece, people who used to sing songs by stitching together different stories were called rhapsodes. We don't use it in contemporary English, of course, but we do have this other word called rhapsody. So maybe you know about that. Thank you for the reminder, Anurag. Otherwise, I could have missed out on that. Yeah, absolutely, yes, Devyansh, that is the one with Achilles. In fact, that is the role that Brad Pitt played in Troy. Yup. Bohemian Rhapsody. Yup. Those of you who've not heard Bohemian Rhapsody, you can probably Google and listen to it after the session. Yes, Aratrika, Achilles' heel is an idiomatic expression that comes from that story. In fact, Greek myths have given us a lot of words. If you read those stories, it will enrich your vocabulary a fair bit. Okay, so are we done? Give me a quick yes, and then we can move on. Come on, come on, come on. Because this takes care of the passage. And after that, we can dive into the questions. So here is your first question. Go ahead and tell me what the answer must be. Dionysus is the name of a person, Keshav. So Euripides and all those Greek names, they're basically proper nouns. Just a sec, guys, I'll take you quickly back so you notice. And even others, you notice this capitalized initial, that in itself gives you a hint. Oh yes, Divyansh, absolutely yes. Think of dacoit, pandit, guru, even juggernaut. It has gone. It comes from Bhagwan Jagannath's Rath Yatra. Once that Rath starts moving, once that chariot starts moving, nothing can stop it. So juggernaut comes from Jagannath, Lord Jagannath. So, what's your answer to question number 1? So, there is a part, look at the question first. What do we have here? What supporting idea does the author use to illustrate the flexibility and multiplicity of interpretations in Greek myths? So one of these things has been used to show that Greek myths are flexible with their interpretation, that Greek myths happen to have multiple interpretations. So which one of these has been used in the passage for that purpose? Answer, guys, answer. Let us see who gives the answer first. भाई तुम कर भी रहे हो? ओए यहाँ कौन सा नेगेटिव मार्किंग हो रही है यार? Take a shot. Use elimination. Give it a shot. And you can always use the seeker of your YouTube to go back to the passage. Okay? Use the seeker to go back, refer to the right part, and then come. Okay, so we have our answers streaming in. So Nishant, Sumed, the point 915, Vansh, Sahil, Hasib, Priyanka. Priyanka is thinking of B versus C. Priyanka, if there are canonical versions, then it means that they have become a rule or a law. That means that they have become inflexible. The passage goes on to state the exact opposite. Let's see. There are no canonical versions. Look at these rhapsods, this bit about rhapsods. Traces of multiple stories. There is no right version. So, if you look at the options, you would notice that B is indeed the one that comes the closest, and therefore B must be the answer. And I think most of you have managed to get this right. So, here is the next one. Question number 2 on your screen, give it a shot. Okay, so Divyansh, Pritul, Akshat, Priyanka, and the point 915. Yeah, the point 915. Can you also share your name with me so that I can use the right name as well? So I'm getting loads of D's, quite a few C's. So B. So far, the majority says D. There are some people who think it should be C. They are confused. 1 or 2 options also pick up B. So what among the following is the primary reason of restaging the Greek plays. Which paragraph do you think do we need to go back to? The third paragraph, right? When you have an overview of the passage, that makes it easy for you. So see, when we restage these plays, we are undertaking something similar. So where is the answer to this similar? So in the earlier times, in the 5th century BCE, people used this mythical material, often radical expansions, to address the politics of their own time. So we are also doing something similar. We are addressing the politics of our time. What else do we have? Okay, so now that we've read the relevant part, let's come back. Can it be B, to entertain contemporary audiences with historical stories? What are we reenacting? The myths. Are the myths history? Think of the very first paragraph. Number one, they're not even history. Number two, you read the entire third paragraph. Where did we talk about this as a purpose? So B can be ruled out, and if B gets ruled out, D also gets ruled out, and if D gets ruled out and all of you have eliminated A, so I don't need to talk about it, the answer has to be C. So you notice what happens. There are times when we fail to look at the passage closely, or we may fail to go back to the right part, and that can at times lead to mistakes. But B was close. But you notice the two problems with B. If you spot them, you'd start getting these right. Here is the next one. A solid reasoning based question. It is difficult. A fair bit of heads up. It is difficult, but I do want you to give it a shot. Remember, no negative marking, and you and I are together. दिव्यांश, यही तो, इधर जितना फंसेंगे उतना एक्चुअल पेपर में कम फंसेंगे. The more you sweat in training, the less you bleed in battle. Remember? So keep that in mind. Chalo, come on, answers guys. Sara, it's absolutely okay. Akshat, that's a popular saying. It's not something that I've created, okay? So, fair warning. I can't take the credit for that. All right, so Sumed, Pranav. So, Shruti, Yashi, Acidas. So far I am yet to see a right answer. B is not the right answer. Think again. I'll come back and I'll also tell you why. Don't you worry. Okay, so what is it that the question asks us to do? Which of the following, if true, would most challenge the author's assertion? It is basically nothing but a weaken the argument question. So which of the following weakens the author's take on the adaptability of Greek myths? Right? Now, how do we weaken anything? We weaken anything by contradicting its premises or its assumptions. So one of the assumptions that the author has used, or the premises that the author has used, is that, or the assumption rather, I shouldn't even say premise, is that when you read a story, you dive into your own experience, you dive into your own context to interpret it, to understand it. And where is that found? In the very first paragraph. Let me take you back. Here it is. Let me highlight some parts. These signals are there to be read in our present. And in every moment, and every moment's reading is different. Not only that, you notice the interpretations change. There was an interpretation where he thought of it as a sun. Then there is an interpretation where he interpreted it with that ecological lens. So you notice that shift, that change. It tells you that a person at the end of the day brings in his own experience, his own context. I remember this story where one fine day a teacher walked into a classroom, kept a glass on the table and took out a bottle of liquor and filled that glass with liquor. Adult beverages, alcohol. Then he opened a jar with some worms in it and he dropped a worm in the jar. And lo and behold, the worm disintegrated. He put in another worm, the worm disintegrated. And then he looked at the students and asked, "What do you learn from it?" And one boy got up and said, "Sir, it tells us that alcohol kills worms, alcohol kills germs, so we should drink it." So you notice, we all bring in our own perspective to different stories. So, that's the assumption here. Now, when I go to the question and I look at, let us say, option A, it says modern scholars have identified a definitive interpretation of several Greek myths based on extensive historical research. Okay, what do you understand by a definitive interpretation? What is the meaning of the word? So definitive is something that you've arrived at in a very decisive and authoritative manner. Firm, final, complete. So modern scholars have arrived at a final interpretation. But then you notice every interpretation that an individual arrives at is an interpretation that appears final in that moment. When that moment changes, there is a possibility that the interpretation also changes. According to the first passage, the first paragraph, you interpret it in a given moment. So these guys have arrived at an interpretation in a particular moment. When the moment changes, the interpretation can change. So there is a possibility that you can come up with new interpretations or reinterpretations. So it does not challenge the author's take on adaptability. Let's look at B. Recent archaeological discoveries have unearthed ancient Greek texts that provide fixed, unalterable versions of key mythological stories. And that's true in the entire passage. There are stories, even if the story is unalterable, even if the story is fixed, your interpretation is your own. Remember the story that I told you about a teacher walking into a classroom, filling a glass with liquor, putting a worm in it. It is a fixed, unalterable story. Yet, the child there could come up with a different interpretation altogether. So you notice? This does not tell us that, hey, you cannot interpret Greek myths in different ways. So B also does not weaken it. However, when you look at C, C says that our society and the Greek society, they have become so different that there is absolutely no common ground between them, and therefore whatever that society and culture produced will find no resonance here. So your experience, your understanding, your insight will not work, because you'll not even be able to identify with that. Okay? For example, now it's a YouTube session, right? All of us are living, staying in different parts of the world, thinking of different things. Now tell me something. A woman has a right to vote, right? And then there were societies where a woman had no right to vote. In the past, we just need to go back by maybe around another 50, 60 years or so. In fact, there are countries where probably women may not have a right to vote even today. But then, if I read a story that originated in a society where women were treated as second-class citizens, and there were myths built around that, if I read them, I'll not be able to identify with those at all. So when the society changes, when the culture changes significantly, you would struggle. So C can tell you that we'll not be able to interpret them or reinterpret them. None of you have picked up D. One of you picked up D as well. So contemporary reinterpretations often prioritize fidelity to the original. But then this D itself says that there are reinterpretations. It is just that they're biased towards something. But the option itself says that there are reinterpretations. Whereas what do we want to do? We want to prove that we cannot interpret Greek myths in our own way anymore. D does not help us prove that. And that is why the best answer for us here is C. Didn't I tell you it's a difficult question? So, it's absolutely okay if you got it wrong. You at least learnt a little more about the question type and how we approach it. You learnt how minutely we at times need to go ahead and evaluate options. And that, this process will make you better in the subsequent questions. So let's go ahead and work on this. Question number 4. Manish, that's nice. That's nice. So question number 4, waiting. Pranav, Saudi, I don't know, I'd have to Google and check. I do remember reading the news where the women were granted license to drive pretty late, but let's see. Oh, what is that screen name? गहना आपके लिए. कहाँ है गहना मेरे लिए? So, where are the answers? After going through question number 3, this should appear easy, and Vansh has set the ball rolling. Okay. Vansh, just map. Just take half of it. History is always then. History is always then. In A, now this is basically an idea restatement question. Okay. Some of you have been working with me, so you know there are 20 question types. In idea restatement questions, we are trying to capture the idea presented by this part using a different set of words. In option A, when you say history is always then, where is it? Is it even present? No. And if it is not present, eliminate. Look at C. Importance of myths in shaping historical narratives. Yeah, according to the passage, it could have been the other way around. History could have influenced myths. The myths have not gone on to influence historical narratives. So that's false. So C also goes. So B or D? Once again, the problem with D is the first half does not find a mention. Myths are, and number two, myths are solely concerned. They are concerned with present, but solely, and they lack any historical significance. No, they may have some historical significance, no? So this any is also a problem, therefore B is the right answer choice. So that takes care of our passage 1, and let me now take you over to another passage. Let's go ahead and work. Here you go. So I could fit 2 paragraphs onto this single page. Go ahead, read these 2 paragraphs. Let me give you a moment. Take a deep breath and then let's come back. So let's forget about all the Greek myths and let's come to India. There you go. Let's start. Done? So morass, something that is extremely complicated or difficult to deal with. So anything that you want to ask? Celibacy, a vow of celibacy is, so celibacy is where you do not engage in sexual relationships with anyone. Brahmacharya. So since Bhishma was celibate, he obviously could not have any children. Yes, Darshan. So, Nana, Sukalyan, you can have children even when you are not married, and that can complicate the matters. Within Mahabharata, remember the story of Karna? So, celibacy takes it a step forward, huh? Sort of ensures that. Polychromatic. Chrome is color, poly is multiple. So, polychromatic is multicolored. Where exactly is it? Polychromatic morality. Na? So, what is right and what is wrong may not always have just one single definition. There can be different types of rights, different types of moralities. So, that's basically polychromatic. Right? Okay, so it look at it in this context, no? So look at this line between what is right and what is wrong. Dharma and adharma is often muddled. It's very difficult. In fact, let me tell you, morality is all about right and wrong. Morality is all about how one should act. Okay? So there is this person, there is this publishing house which approached 10 of the biggest philosophers of our contemporary times, and they asked them to define morality. They asked them to define what is right and what is wrong. They wrote beautiful pieces, lovely essays, but then the problem is there is no universal definition. And even if you study philosophy, see, how do you decide what is right and what is wrong? There are people who say that, okay, what is right and what is wrong should be determined by the outcome of that action. They call them teleological ways of looking at morality. Outcome of the action. Now, so imagine I take out a gun and I shoot at you, but I'm a bad shot. I miss. I miss you. I'm. I don't miss you. I miss hitting you. Okay. So, does that mean that there is no criminal action that has happened? Because look at teleological perspective. Look at the end result. Nothing wrong happened to you. The bullet did not hit you. So is that a criminal act or not? And then there are people who say that na yaar, what matters is the intent. What matters is the intent. So according to those guys, it is wrong because my intent was to kill you, to shoot at you. But then, what if I end up doing something bad unintentionally? What if I'm driving my car and I unintentionally hit a, hit a rickshaw and the person is grievously hurt? Is that not a crime because there was no intention involved? So you notice there are all these different ways of looking at it. Then there are people who say that what is right is determined by the greater good of the largest number of people. What is right and wrong, there are people who say it is defined by the God's word. So many different ways of looking at it. Okay, what else? I see some more messages that have come in. Let me check. Quintessential. Quintessential is something that is very typical, something that is very representative. Now, I'm a Punjabi. Okay, now when you think of a Punjabi, what do you think of? Punjabis are like, loud, right? They'd do this balle balle. They'd probably drink and they'd probably have butter chicken. So, a Punjabi who is loud and is fun loving and is gorgeous on butter chicken and aloo ka parathas and rajma chawal, that's a quintessential Punjabi. It's a typical standard Punjabi that you typically think of. No. Sukalyan, na. That's quintessential is a little different. Okay, so with that, let's go ahead into our next segment. Panyan, in this case, spectrum, yeah, I think in this particular context, yes, we can say that. Warriors, ਸਰਸੋਂ ਦਾ ਸਾਗ ਤੇ ਮੱਕੇ ਦੀ ਰੋਟੀ ਤੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਪਾਇਆ ਹੋਵੇ ਮੱਖਣ ਖੂਬ ਸਾਰਾ ਤੇ ਨਾਲ ਹੋਵੇ ਲੱਸੀ. Yup. Actually, let's remove perfect. We just say typical. A representative example of something is quintessential. Representative example need not be perfect. So we just need to ignore that. Oh, kadas. Yes, 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 yes. But that's kadas are worn by people who are Sikhs. Not every Punjabi wears it. Although I do, of course, have, whenever I visit a Gurdwara, particularly a big one, I do get a kada. So I do have some, but yeah, I get you. I hear you, man. What is this long, long message by Luffy? No, yeah, Luffy, absolutely. I was just pointing out these different theories of defining right and wrong so that we have a better understanding of what polychromatic in that context means. So I hope you get that. हिमाचल वेकेशन नक्षत यस है ना एवरी समर हमें पहाड़ बुलाते हैं और पहाड़ी हमें गालियाँ निकालते हैं इस वजह से Priyanka, that's the first time I've heard somebody use eloquent for Punjabis. Ooh, thank you on behalf of all the Punjabis. Let me know once you're done, okay? And also, if there is a part that you want me to, go ahead and talk about. Achha, oh, sorry. I think you wanted to know the meaning of the word eloquent. Eloquent is somebody who speaks very well. Somebody who is a very good speaker. Somebody who is very good at communication. I got you, Priyanka. Sorry. Done? Guys, done. Luffy, ignore. Don't flame. Here is the next slide. Should I move over to the next? So here is the last part. Just a teeny mini last paragraph. Whirlwind. Whirlwind basically refers to events that happen very fast, in a very unexpected manner, okay? A situation where things change rather rapidly and unexpectedly. What else? Crux. Crux basically means the gist, the main or the key point, the heart of the matter. Okay, Panya? Oh, sorry. Okay, Sukalyan? Done? So let's dive into the questions then. What's your take? So, a very frequently asked question in our exams, and even if it is not asked frequently, it is a very important question type to master because it makes you faster in a lot of other question types. So, let's see. Deceit is to deceive somebody. To deceive is to not share the truth, keeping the truth hidden so that you are able to gain some advantage. Remember a person, let's say he has a car and he knows that the engine has a serious problem, but he does not tell it to the buyer and ends up selling it. So that's an act of deceit right there. So, options. What's the main idea? Oh, fabulous, fabulous, man. I see a stream of bees moving rapidly across the chat. Absolutely right. B it is. So let's move over to the next one. Question number 6 on your screen. What's your take? Amazing job, huh? Amazing job. Well done. Okay. So let's check. Bhagavad Gita is a spin-off from Mahabharata. There should have been a hyphen here. A spin-off is a product that is created from some other product. For example, now at iQuanta, we offer you a very exhaustive CAT preparation program. But what if you don't want the entire CAT course? What if you approach us and say, can you teach us just VARC or just DILR? Then we may think of having a spin-off product where we have focus on only one section. So what is the question first? None of the following can be inferred except. So this none and except get cancelled out. So you are basically looking for what can be inferred. And an inference, for those of you who do not know, is kind of a conclusion, okay, an unstated conclusion. So first is true. How about second? There are multiple interpretations of the epic Mahabharata. Can't say. You know why? According to the passage, there are multiple interpretations of the word Mahabharata. There are multiple, and not the epic Mahabharata. So, are there multiple interpretations of the epic as well? We don't know. All we know is that there are multiple interpretations of the word. Then C, Mahatma Gandhi was reluctant to endorse Gita because of its rationalization. False, because he went on to endorse Gita. And therefore our answer is A, which once again you are on a roll, man. Come on. Fabulous. Okay, here is the next one. Should I put you under a bit of pressure? As far as inference based questions go, this is an easy one. Go ahead, give it a shot. And if you're enjoying the session, don't forget to like it. Show some love. Tell me that it is working out for you. Okay. So the answers are once again streaming in. And mind you, man, come on. B is indeed the right answer. So you notice in A, clearly defined helped us eliminate it. Is it solely about, see, whenever you see an answer choice in an inference based question which is extreme, what do we mean by it? An extreme option uses words like solely, only, never, all, always. Be very, very cautious. Most of the times that inference is not going to be true. Most of the times. So be cautious. Okay. So B it is, and with that, let me take you to the last question based on the passage. So what is the significance of the last paragraph of the passage? So remember that tiny paragraph that you read at the last, just 3-4 lines. Use your YouTube seeker, go to the last paragraph, read it, come back, use the options, eliminate, and then let's see how that works for you. Yes, Devyansh. Ooh, Arpita. Oh, I saw your answer late, huh? So what's your take? So if we were to eliminate, Yudhishthir had fondness for power. He gave up Hastinapur. That contradicts the paragraph. So A can't be the answer. How about B? Does the last paragraph describe the aftermath of the war? In a way, yes, but does it also talk about its impact on the surviving characters? No. So B becomes out of scope. How about C? It illustrates the futility of the battle, that the battle served no purpose. It could have and should have been avoided. And the heavy cost of the Pandavas' victory, yes, it does talk about it. But let's also read D. It emphasizes the moral ambiguity. So, when something is ambiguous, it means that it is not clear. Ambiguous is where it has multiple interpretations possible and you're not sure which interpretation to take. Ambiguous. Right? Does the last paragraph contain any ambiguity? In the last paragraph, Yudhishthir very clearly states that I don't want this. So there is no ambiguity. Number one. Number two, the tragic end of the Mahabharata. Does the last paragraph talk about the end of Mahabharata? Let's just have a quick look. Let's just see. What it says is, This talks about the end of the battle. Does it talk about the end of the epic? We can't be sure of that, right? So D can be ruled out on the basis of this as well, and therefore the correct answer is indeed option C, and I think most of us have managed to get this right. So if you keep practicing, if you keep working hard, I am sure you will keep rocking the results and gradually keep pushing yourself towards things which are more challenging. Okay, so that's the RCs that I had brought for you today. So please make sure that you listen to Tyrion Lannister from Games of Thrones, where he said that your mind needs books. So if you have a sword, you need to keep it sharp. How do you keep it sharp? By rubbing it against the whetstone. Similarly, if you have a mind, you're supposed to keep it sharp. And how do you keep it sharp? You keep it sharp by reading books. And I gave you one book recommendation today, Sapiens by Yuval Noah Harari. So this is where I will stop today. Don't forget to like the video before you leave. And if you're new to our channel, do subscribe and press the bell icon. And now if you have any questions, send them my way. I'll answer those questions and then move on. So प्रियंका, मिथोलॉजी के पैसेज आते हैं एग्जाम में? हाँ आते हैं, मतलब बहुत, मैं ये नहीं कहूँगा कि बहुत ज़्यादा फ्रीक्वेंट है. हाँ, आजकल इन दिनों एंथ्रोपोलॉजी, सोशोलॉजी काफ़ी ज़्यादा आ रहा है और रिलीजन उसका ना एक सब पार्ट है, तो उस कैटेगरी में ये वाले पैसेजेस भी आ सकते हैं. और थोड़ा थोड़ा पार्ट इसका फिलॉसफी पे भी बेस्ड है. तो हाँ यार, पॉसिबिलिटी तो है ही ना. कैट वाले तो कुछ भी पूछ लेते हैं, पता है. एक बार एक साल मूवी रिव्यू दे दिया, एक साल ऑबिचुअरी दे दी, एक साल दे टॉक्ड अबाउट वाइन, एक साल दे टॉक्ड अबाउट चाइल्ड्स माइंड एंड डेवलपमेंट ऑफ लैंग्वेज. कुछ भी पूछते हैं लोग. सो योर जॉब इज टू स्टे रेडी टू रीड, to stay ready to read as vast a selection of subject matters as you possibly can. And at iQuanta, our attempt is to ensure that you get adequate exposure to all the different genres. और क्या सुकल्यान सर, how many RCs from RC book 1 and book 2? यार ये तो भाई मुझे काउंट करना पड़ेगा, मैं बाद में बता पाऊंगा. बट आर्टिकल्स बता सकता हूँ. ऑन आवर वेबसाइट यूड फाइंड लिंक्स ऑफ लॉट ऑफ आर्टिकल्स विच आर segregated by the subject matter as well. So do visit the website and maybe read those articles. Thanks a lot, Priyanka. I also enjoyed working with you guys. I look forward to meeting you in the next session. Until then, keep working hard, okay? Stay safe, stay in touch, and more importantly, keep working hard. And do remember, we are just a message away. And don't forget to like the video if you haven't done so yet. See ya. Signing out.